Hey, good afternoon. It's Sabine. It is September 12th, and I have a day after feeling. Oh my goodness, it was such a beautiful high watch yesterday. And this morning, as I open up my computer, first I opened up my eyes. Then I was like, okay, I'm going to study this one out because the Lord led us to such a beautiful point yesterday. I'm like, this story cannot be finished. And I believe it isn't. The moon is still on the altar Libra today, and it will depart this afternoon. And then she will come, the overcomer bride. And both on the lunar calendars as well as the solar calendars, this is an amazingly beautiful day. And then the enemy has tomorrow and the day after marked to usher in a red carpet to their false messiah. So I'm going to make two videos for you. First, I'm going to look at the heavens together with you, the scriptures, and then we're going to take a brief look at what the enemy is planning, what they have in store, because it complements the picture, but I'm going to put them last where they belong. So, update September 12th, the picture of the heavenly Jerusalem. September 12th, the overcomer bride leaves the altar and passes the scorpion's heart. The walls of the Father's house are finished. September 13 is a picture of 5 of them being wise and 5 foolish. The enemy is about to roll out their red carpet, and the Broadway reopens. So if we look at the heavens today, we can see that the moon is going to exit the constellation Libra and enter into the constellation Scorpio. And this is what is visible tonight when the moon rises. So we can see the moon arriving at the body of the scorpion and at Antares, the bright red star. It's associated with the watcher of the east, Uriel, but also with the wounding because it's the arrows of the white horse rider which are aimed at the heart of the scorpion, and that's where the enemy is going to be wounded. So that is a beautiful picture, but it's also so associated with the sting of death. So as the bride goes out of Libra, the altar of redemption, she will become an overcomer bride, overcoming the heart of the enemy. And that happens in between the upper legs of Ophiuchus, the restrainer, holding the serpent at bay, which wants to seize our crown, but it's not going to get it. So we are protected. We are in the inner area of the restrainer. And when we are both experiencing enemy darts as well as the cunning work of the serpent, that is when the restrainer is closest to us and we draw an eye unto him. So if we look in the heavens, this is what we see on the south side. And if we look to the southeast, we can see the man with the water jar. We are commanded to follow because he will lead us into the upper room. Jupiter is now in the constellation Capricorn. Aquarius is right next to it and above the constellation Pisces Austrinus with Fomalhaut, the brightest star, and that is representative of those drinking in the waters of life. So there's a picture of the bride overcoming the enemy in the south. There is the white horse rider, and this is the area called the celestial silver gate. So the moon is, golden gate. So the moon is approaching the celestial golden gate to then meet the white horse rider. And Saturn is in the goat portion of Capricorn. Jupiter is at the fish portion of Capricorn, the depiction of the church arising from the sacrificial goat. And underneath, Pisces Austrinus, Fomalhaut, connected to the sign of Jonah. We covered that earlier in the article. If you're interested, you can read that. And that is what is going to be on display in the heavens in the south and southeast. And so this is when the moon is going to become the overcomer bride, overcoming the heart of the enemy, exiting the pyramid structure, entering into the protection of the restrainer. The moon again overcoming Antares, the heart of the scorpion, and then onward on the ecliptic, the red carpet in the heavens. And this is when the moon is in the celestial golden gate. So she crosses the fiery river that is also associated with the refining fire our works will experience before we enter into heaven. And then she will meet the Sagittarius white horse rider. So the moon tomorrow will be a phi moon, meaning 50% lit, 50% dark. And that is in representation of the 5 wise and the 5 foolish virgins. And we're also going to see that in the Strongs, that picture of the division between the wise and the foolish pertaining to tomorrow and the day after. Neptune is going to be at opposition. Neptune is a planet associated with the beast coming from the sea and is going to be at opposition, meaning opposite the sun. And Neptune is stationed next to Aquarius, so also in the southeast. So we see Jupiter over here, Fomalhaut, Pisces Austrinus over here, the man with a water jar, and the beast from the sea nearby. Mercury at greatest elongation east, Mercury will reach its greatest separation from the sun. So not opposite the sun, but distance from the sun. And Mercury is still in Virgo, the messenger in the womb of Virgo. And I'm noticing that my computer is wobbly again, so apologies for that. I think it's a little bit overheated. He needs an upgrade, like we all do. So on the Essene Equilux solar calendar, today is the 29th of Elul, and they go by a 30-day count for the month of Elul. So today, September 12th, is the 29th day, and this is the finishing of the Pentecost Feast of New Oil, and the wood offerings that was closed yesterday. So today and tomorrow, and then on their calendar, are the final days of the Pentecost time frame. So that is an important mark to make. I'm going to cover more of what is going on that calendar in a second. But first, on Torah calendar, one of the lunar calendars, Leviticus 23 based, we can see how the commemoration of the fast of Gedalia, Tzom Gedalia, which is normally celebrated on Tishri 3, if it is coinciding with the Sabbath, it is forwarded one day. So this is what is happening this year. So the 4th of Tishri on Leviticus 23 is the commemoration of Gedaliah's fast. One of their leaders, I covered it in the videos yesterday and the day before. And it is also described in detail in the article. So if you haven't heard of that fast of Gedaliah, because it's prophetically important, we have a second fulfillment now of that fast, because Gedaliah was one of the leaders who found himself in mixture. He did not heed the words of God through the prophet Jeremiah. He remained in Babylonian mixture, was succumbed to spiritual deception, and ultimately he was led to his own destruction, and the people he was leading suffered that same fate. So he was abiding in a false sense of security, and his death is commemorated today in Israel. So yesterday I drew the parallels with the current leadership leading people into a false sense of security, and that will lead to their bodily destruction. And on our own calendar, the Gregorian calendar, this is actually a really beautiful day, the day after Jesus' birthday. Of course, the commemoration of the shepherds in the fields of Bethlehem, who were visited by divine order by the angels, announcing the Lord's birth. And they were the first visitors of Joseph, Mary, and Jesus. And these shepherds were not just normal shepherds, they were tending the temple flocks. So the animals who were tended on to become sacrificial animals. And the Lord was born in the Migdal Eder, the watchtower of the flock, not just any stable or any manger. He was born in the tower where the sacrificial lambs were born and tended to. So he was wrapped in white linen, which was designed to keep the temple lambs both spotless and clean, but also away from harm. So they visited Jesus the day after he was born. And on the Aquilux solar calendars, the Essene used and Enoch used, it is day 180, so the exact middle of the 360 day count. They have 4 days of quartal watches, but the 180 is, of course, the division of 360. And in the scriptures, it is the day of the first watch on Nehemiah's rebuilt wall around Jerusalem. I wrote an article about that last year and a couple of videos. It is linked in this article. And the walls of Nehemiah are also a mirror of the heavenly walls of the city of Jerusalem. And that is going to speak to us, I believe, in an amazing way. It was also the day of financial nullification, so a financial redemption in a Shemitah year. And it is the day that the shofar is silent. So for me, the Essene solar calendar is the most accurate one. It is most accurately aligned with the heavens, and their day of shofar silence, the final 2 days of the Pentecost time frame, they're awaiting the Tishri 1 celebration of the wedding of the Messiah, the coronation, the wedding of the Lamb in 2 days. So in Nehemiah's days, the walls were completed on Elul 25, and 4 days later, the first watch was commemorated on these walls. So the watchmen were invited to get onto their posts because the walls were finished. The protective walls around the city represent the bridal living stones of the spiritual wall around the house, the spiritual house, a holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices. We find that in 1 Peter 2:5 as well as Revelation 21:9. And it emulates the walls of the heavenly Jerusalem, the Father's house made ready for the bride. It is in the wall of the city, remember, in the clefts of the rock, that we are safe. We find our inner chambers in that wall to hide ourselves in. And also recall how Rahab, who married into the tribe of Israel, her house was secured in that wall. She let down a red cord, the outward expression of her faith in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We find our chambers to hide ourselves in there too. She was saved from sudden destruction, like we will be spared and snatched out of sudden destruction before it falls. Knowing the Lord is preparing a place for us, and the Father informing the Son at a certain time that the house He prepared for us in the walls, I believe our house is going to be in the walls, may be ready, just like the white casing stones of the altar in stone in Giza was also to complete the structure, but also protect the inner structure. So in the narratives thus far for today, we find a Migdal Eder tower protecting Jesus and his parents, the shepherds protecting the flock, the sacrificial sheep and lambs, and the bride protecting the church. Those who are called in as a bride are also functioning in the office of a watchman. And we intercede for one another, we encourage one another, but we also intercede for the people who will come behind us. So in the next video, I'm going to give you more detail and substance why Nehemiah's walls are connected to the heavenly walls. And when those are finished and the Father calls the Son to call us, that is the time we are waiting for. So see you in the next video.